All right, we'll take a breather. When we return, we'll review top stories on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with this Nigerian newspaper. And a major story here says the crisis worsens as NLC Labour Party fight dirty. Crisis worsens as NLC Labour Party fight dirty. And the writer there says Abure corrupt and inefficient must go Labour leadership. It's the show of rascality by Ajero, says Labour Party. Now, Shuaibu Court declines to stop Obaseki Assembly orders from impeachment process. Nigeria's earnings from foreign taxes doubled in 2023. NBS data is saying now terrorism financiers tragedy for Nigeria. Sponsors not new to federal government, says research scholar Otubanjo. Go beyond names, impose stricter sanctions, security experts are saying. We'll move quickly now to the Nigerian News Direct. And still talking about NLC shutting down Labour Party National Secretariat as part tussle deepens. Union accused Abure of organizing secret convention. Ajero using union for 2027 political goals, Abure has said. Now, while we want Lagos Assembly to amend last mirror law, GM Elegushi saying 7-day warning strike Sanu Nasu negotiation with federal government hit deadlock. At the top corner, student loan bill scales third reading at Senate. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To the salient times now, Labour Party flees NLC's invasion of party secretariat, while NLC shut down Labour Party headquarters. Another story here, service chief senators in closed-door session over soldiers killing. Why Kuje prison break was successful. The army has given details of that incident. Now, another story here, Vietnam's president resigns after just over a year in office. Everybody should grow something, wife of the president, Remi Tinubu, is saying to Nigerians. Another story, police arrest dismissed soldier and one other for robbery in Abuja. Some of the stories you find on the front page of the Salient Times. To the Daily Independent now, Labour Party faults NLC picketing party secretariats, says it's unlawful. And the writers there berates Joe Ajero, vows to drag union to court. Utomi urges ceasefire, stakeholders consultations. Once proposed March convention postponed. Now, National Assembly pushes 2023 Appropriation Act implementation to June the 30th. And another story there, NNPC Limited pledges to use gas to trigger Nigeria's industrialization, economic development. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Daily Independent. To the blueprint now, federal government lists Mamu, 14 others, BDCs as terrorism financiers. Some individuals linked to Al-Qaeda or a Catholic Church attack. NFIU others funds, assets, other economic resources frozen. 3.7 trillion naira budget padding, CSO's demand list of constituency projects threaten protest in event of refusal. Plateau, widows, families of dead police officers receive 2.8 million naira. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the blueprint. And quickly, the story, parents of 20 million out-of-school children risk jail. That's the Senate saying that. We move to the front page of the Daily Trust. Controversy trails leaked list of terrorist financiers. Controversy trails leaked list of terrorist financiers. And to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, killing troops, Kum, Bielsa, Delta Creeks for militant leader. The riders there, demolition of buildings in Okwama continues. Senate Joint Committee holds meeting with service chiefs. Killing of soldiers inhuman, devilish. Some of the riders there. And salary structure for judicial officers, CJN to earn 5.4 million naira monthly. Some stories you find on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Ibrahim.
Yes, the Daily Times is the first with me. It's CGN to collect 5.3 million naira monthly as reps pass new bill. Other Supreme Court justices each to get 4.2 million naira monthly, and that's under the salaries allowances for judicial office holders. Senate extends 2023 Appropriation Act implementation to June 30, 2024. Court refuses to stop impeachment move against Edo Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. BVN name linkage, give it more time to run. Catholic Church urges federal government. Access Bank to acquire 100% holding in NBK from KCB. CBN clears all FX backlog as external reserves rise to $34.11 billion. Next is First News. CGN to receive 5.39 million naira. Supreme Court justices 4.21 million naira as reps pass judicial officers pay rise bill. Next is the New Telegraph. Reps approve new salaries, allowances for judicial officers, extend 2023 supplementary budget execution, June 2024, proceed on Easter Salah break till April the 16th. NLC, Labour Party tussle over party control. You can read more on that from the New Telegraph. Next is the Nation newspaper. Public funded foreign trips on hold for 3 months. Don't distract ministers with oversight invitations. President cautions lawmakers. Labour Party sinks deeper into crisis. Slain army 17 to get national honor, defeating burial. CBN clears $7 billion forex backlog. Next is the Guardian newspaper. Federal government spends 6 trillion naira subsidy on available electricity in 10 years. You can see the infographics there, and also Naira eyes 1,300 naira to the dollar at parallel market as speculators offload FX. You can read more on that on the page of the Guardian newspaper. Next is the Platform newspaper. 70% of prison inmates await trial. NCOS. Delta traditional ruler issues ultimatum to Fulani herdsmen. Man arrested, dragged to court for stealing pot of soup, fufu, others. Then that's just about it on the for the Platform Times. Next is the Leadership newspaper. Post-Petroleum Industry Act, operators exploiting gaps to under-declare crude outputs. Tinubu's executive orders will enhance implementation. Again, National Assembly extends 2023 budget's lifespan, and court refuses to stop Shaibu's impeachment. Next is the Punch newspaper. Naira rebounds to 1,400 to the dollar as speculators offload forex. Naira appreciates at parallel. Official market operators foresee 1,200 to the dollar in weeks. You can read more on that on the Punch newspaper. Business Day. Nigeria gets most payout from Shell in first 2020. Nigeria gets most payout from Shell in since first Shell in first 2020. That's for the Business Day newspaper. You also find Airpeace maiden London flight fully booked amid scarce cheap tickets. And last but not least is the Nation Sport. We have Nottingham may be forced to sell Awoniyi this summer. Iheanacho Ndidi Oyeka arrive Eagles camp. Also, we have Liverpool open to signing Musiala. And that's all about it we have for you on the newspapers up for review this morning. Interesting.
All right, let's quickly move now to this story where the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, Lee Satterfield, is in Nigeria on an official visit. Now, this visit is coming on the heels of Secretary Blinken's tour of 4 African countries that included Nigeria early this year. I had a chat with Assistant Secretary Setterfield in an exclusive interview where she tells me about the significance of these high-powered visits by U.S. government officials and what more the U.S. is seeking to do in the areas of culture and education, as well as for women in Nigeria. Take a listen. All right, okay, thank you for joining us for this special feature on TVC News. I'm Veronica Dan Ikoy. Today we have an exclusive interview with the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, Lee Setterfield. She will be speaking with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, you assumed office in 2021
yes.
as Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. Talk to us about your role, especially what you focus on.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, it's an honor to serve in the role under President Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken,
right,
who put a great emphasis on people-to-people diplomacy. And one of the reasons that I'm here is to emphasize the relationship between the United States and Nigeria, and the heart of that relationship is our people.
That's great. That's great. And I believe that you're already getting some results from your time the past few days that you have been here now.
Yes. I landed yesterday morning and have had an amazing visit. It's my first time to Nigeria.
Really?
Yes.
So what's your experience with the people?
Oh, I'm overwhelmed by the people that I've met and every story that I've heard and experience that I've had. I spoke with a group of students just earlier today at the University of Lagos, where we opened up a new, what we call Window on America, which is an American space where students can come and learn new skills and learn more about studying in the United States. I'm here to announce a couple new programs in the creative industry, which we can talk about in a minute. But I think generally I'll just say that there's a warmth to the people here, and I'm drawn to every story that I've heard and every individual that I've met. It's been a beautiful experience so far.
I would have loved to ask which of the stories stand out for you, but because of time, yes, that would be interesting to hear, but because of time, let's quickly talk about the high-level visits that we have been getting from the U.S. to Nigeria, and we're wondering what really is driving this.
Yeah, well, thank you for noticing that there have been a lot of high-level visits. Secretary Blinken was here in January.
Yes.
President Biden hosted African leaders in Washington, D.C. in 2022. And out of both of those visits, we had conversations with people in on the continent of Africa and in the United States to think about ways that we might explore and expand education and culture programs. And so out of those high-level visits, we've come up with these opportunities that I'm here to highlight. And we have had, I think, almost 17 cabinet level officials visit Nigeria. I think that says a lot about how important the United States believes the country is. Largest economy, largest country, population, and it's important for us to strengthen the relationships with the United States.
Right, deepening the relationship, and that's what you have also come to do as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, March is Women's History Month,
yes,
so to speak, and in many countries, including Nigeria, the matter of women enjoying equal rights has been on the front burner. What is the U.S. Going to do or doing for Nigeria, especially Nigerian women, such that they can enjoy the benefits of these rights?
It's a great question. I'll share with you a program that I think is showing great success. But first, I'll just say the point of empowering women and providing economic opportunity and access to education is critically important. And President Biden has said it's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. by leaving out half the world's population is just a mistake, because providing women access to these opportunities is good for not only individuals, but communities and families all around the world. If I could mention one of the programs that we've been running called the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, and it's a training course that has been developed at a university, in Arizona State University, in fact. It's a training platform for women entrepreneurs.
Right.
So they can go through a course, and it's administered locally, and it builds a network and a community of women who are interested in starting their own business and have ideas about where they think there's opportunity economically. And so we foster that community by providing this platform for courses so that people can learn more about strengthening their, building their muscle really in entrepreneurship, which I think Nigerians have a big spirit in terms of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Is my feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nigerians are very good when it comes to entrepreneurship, and they've been doing very well with regards to that. But aside entrepreneurship, what else is the U.S. looking at?
Well, I am here to announce 3 new programs in the creative industry.
Right.
And we're seeing more and more in the United States, there's a great interest in African culture, from Afrobeats to Nollywood. I like to say we're going to bridge Hollywood and Nollywood to share resources so that we can build up and bolster a creative economy. So we're announcing 3 new programs. One in television. We're going to select writers, TV producers to come to the United States.
Really?
Isn't this cool? To be mentored by American writers and producers at USC, the University of Southern California, the Cinematic Arts, which is just an amazing program and just produces incredible talent. So we're going to bring writers from Nigeria to come to the United States, be mentored by American writers and producers, and help them establish television shows. So we'll see them through production, through the different phases of the creative process, and then create shows. That's 1. 2, we're going to launch a music program. I was in LA at the Grammys, and I saw Burna Boy perform, and amazing African artists who are just hitting the scene, and the United States is very interested to hear more. So we're partnering with the Grammys to bring African music industry professionals to LA to be mentored by Recording Academy members so that they can basically build up this network and field of people who are not just the artists themselves, but the people who are behind the business of music. And then the last program in the creative space is we're going to launch a community college initiative, which will bring Nigerians to the United States to study in vocational and educational training and community colleges in the field of creative industries.
Beautiful. Fantastic.
I'm very excited about it.
I am too. Although I'm not a musician, but I wish I'm one right now to take advantage of all of these opportunities that you have reeled out. But which is your favorite Nigerian musician?
I mean, I just saw Burna Boy, and I thought he was incredible. To be able to see him perform live was beautiful. Beautiful.
Right. So let's quickly move to another matter, talking about U.S. Supporting the protection and preservation of cultural heritage across Nigeria through initiatives such as U.S. Ambassador Fund for Cultural Preservation. Why is the U.S. government passionate about preserving cultural heritage in Nigeria and around the world?
It's a good question. And really it boils down to protection and respect for individual culture and the story of people that you learn and know about through culture. We want to help preserve that culture of Nigeria. We've invested over $1.3 million over the past decade in protecting and helping to digitize with museums so that there's a record of important artifacts, and also stop the illicit trafficking of items that happens all over the world. We have a cultural property agreement with Nigeria that we signed recently, and we don't have that many in the world. We have about 30. We're trying to build and do more. That cultural property agreement allows the United States to bring the whole of government approach to stopping trafficked items coming into the United States. So we're able to work more cooperatively within the United States and directly with Nigerian officials to return items when they're stolen, to stop it from happening to begin with.
Right. So going back to the previous question you responded to, talking about musicians and all of it, how are they to take advantage of these opportunities? Because it's playing back in my mind, and I'm wondering, how do they get to, they hear of this, but taking advantage, how do they go, how would they go about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving us the platform to say directly to all of your listeners and those who are tuning in to your television station, this is how they find out about the opportunities, that we're sharing that story and you're bringing it to people directly. But people can also go on all of our social media platforms. It's at US in Nigeria, and it lists all the different opportunities. I've only mentioned, 4? But there are dozens of opportunities to study in the United States. There's scholarships to come and study in the United States. We want to bring more people together through education, the arts, film, television, and music.
Absolutely. Now, one more issue that I'd like for you to touch on is the matter of technology. Of course, the world is taking advantage of technology, like you mentioned earlier. And we hear that you are a big advocate of collaborations between the U.S. and Nigeria.
Yes.
So in what ways is the U.S. government supporting Nigeria's burgeoning tech industry? Because that is one key aspect that the president is looking into.
Well, first I'll just point out our American private sector in the investment that we see U.S. companies making in Nigeria. Google, Meta, Microsoft, all coming here to invest in Nigeria. I think that says a lot about the country. And it's an important area of collaboration. The field is changing so rapidly with AI and all the various, we're just all struggling to keep up. We've got to figure out how to work together to use technology as a force for good. And I think we'll be able to do that together.
Right. Now, talk to us how strategic a partner Nigeria is to the U.S. in all of this education, culture that you have mentioned or spoken about.
Yeah, it is incredibly strategically important. Geopolitical force, Nigeria. And I think you can feel it between the United States and Nigerians. There's already a connection. But from my perspective and the role that I play, I want to build on that and create more opportunities and more pathways to shared economic success.
Great. And on that note, we must thank you, Assistant Secretary of State for Cultural and Educational Affairs, Lee Satterfield. We must thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking with us. It's been an insightful conversation, and I believe that every viewer out there that believes there's something to take out of this conversation will go and look for how well they can take advantage of all you have said. Thank you once again.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that is a wrap on the conversation. Thank you so much. Until the next one, bye for now.
Africa in Nigeria, in Lagos.
All right, that was me speaking with Lee Satterfield yesterday, and like I mentioned, it was an insightful conversation, and I hope that Nigerians, especially those in the creative sector, will take advantage of all that she said.
Yeah, that's to tell you that this international communities, they know that Nigeria has got lots and lots of talents. You know, I love the fact that she mentioned the leveraging arts, film, music. You know, mentioning Bonobo and those guys that are doing fantastically well out there. So it's good that they're working to deepening ties with Nigeria and looking forward to gaining from this collaboration.
Definitely. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, Minister of Health and Social Welfare Ali Party becomes a center of attention over an alleged $300 million misappropriation of Malaria Fund. Join us after the break for this conversation. All right, thank you for joining us. The House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Malaria, HIV/AIDS and Tuberculosis has summoned the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Party, and the Permanent Secretary, Daju Kacholam, to appear before the House over allegations of misappropriation of $300 million meant to tackle malaria since 2021. This was revealed by the chairman of the committee, Amu Bioga, at the National Assembly. The committee has also threatened to arrest the permanent secretary if she fails to honor the summon, having failed to appear before the committee after 3 invitations. The duo are expected to answer questions on allegations of denying indigenous manufacturers of insecticidal nets from participating in the contract for the procurement of the items and other related products. Well, joining us in the studio to have this conversation is public health expert, publisher, Health Nika Tui Mebawandu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Good morning.
Now, the essence of this fund, as you know, I was trying to look at why we got this fund in the first place, was to accelerate Nigeria's progress towards reducing the malaria burden. Although at the time it was said that we did not have as much burden in reports that I saw at the time. That's talking about 2021. But the essence of getting the fund was actually to reduce that burden, to get to the zero level as it is. But then perhaps the minister, in their wisdom at the time, decided, perhaps we do not need as much this monies now. Let's hold back till when perhaps we have the huge burden to address the malaria. But I'm just wondering what you think came to play in that period, why that fund was not appropriated or judiciously used for this matter.
Well, I think the minister, needs to actually, and the Ministry of Health needs to come out clean on how this money is used. We have burden of malaria. Nigeria is actually #1 country in malaria deaths. We have 27% of the whole malaria cases in the world, and we have 32% of all deaths from malaria in the whole world. And if you put Nigeria, DR Congo, Tanzania, and Niger, you have more than 50% of the whole malaria cases all over the world. And of course, we're spending a lot of money, as much as, even in 2022, as much as 1.2 trillion naira trying to battle malaria. And where are these funds coming from? The budgeting is little. Yeah. We have to rely on donors. In fact, this money was borrowed from World Bank, African Development Bank, and Islamic Bank. Those are the 3 banks that said, okay, listen, Nigeria needs to address the deaths due to malaria and the economic loss due to malaria by that $340-something million that was budgeted. And of course, the thinking was to actually call 13 states, okay, which are actually the signal of the bad malaria cases in Nigeria, and then use it to fight malaria at those levels. Of course, we know the pillars of those fighting malaria. First, you have to actually deploy long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, okay, especially to the children and pregnant women. Those are the groups that are actually very vulnerable. You need to do that amongst other things. Okay. Now, in doing that, it means that you have to set up a procurement system. You have to look for how to get those nets and pre-qualification mechanisms. But unfortunately, this thing came to the fore now because a local company, wrote a petition to the House saying that we were excluded. In fact, the contract was given essentially for the UN Supply Office to bring those things. Whether it was given, whether it was not given, we don't know. But now these things came up, And the petition came, and House now wants to know, what did you do exactly? I don't know why it has to happen that 1, 2, 3 times you are summoned.
And
that come and explain what you do. Then I don't know why it should be such that before now, the committee is there superintending and doing oversight function on that aspect of health. What have they been doing? So again, a simple story like this will raise a lot of questions on the quality of our honesty in terms of applying loans and funds, okay? And you remember at a point in time, even the immunization people, the Gavi people had to actually, step back from Nigeria because of this kind of issues that we give you money, you are not applying the money the way you should apply it. So I don't know why yes, we agree that Nopate was not the minister when this happened. Yeah. But, government is a continuum, and there's a permanent secretary who should be able to be the accounting officer of his or her ministry, and should understand the importance of getting to, explain the application of those funds, because I don't think it's a grant, it's a loan, it was a loan, and you have to pay this loan back.
So I love the fact that you also touched on the National Assembly, that of course they've got oversight functions to do in the implementation of these loans towards the eradication of malaria, or fighting malaria within our country. So is that to say that apart from the fact that the minister is being invited with under 72 hours, as well as the permanent secretaries and others, the House, especially the committees, the committee members that perform the oversight function over the implementation of this loan, are supposed to first and foremost come to equity with clean hands by giving quality explanation towards how they provided the oversight function during this period?
There must be, before now, there must have been committees. Of course, there is a committee that's supposed to superintend over this oversight function. Now, without visiting you, I can invite you to come and explain. Bring your documents. Why should that be difficult? Okay? I'm not saying the request of the House abnormal. But the question is that why should it now be that the petition must come from a textile manufacturing company before you act? So these things are just quite, but I think that whatever the insinuation, whatever the perception, the ministry needs to say that, listen, we got this money, this is what we got, this is how the money has been disbursed, this is utilization, this is the effect of the money we spend, we'll be able to reduce malaria burden from this, because we were not number one before, it was DR Congo, but now we've jumped to number one, 32% of all deaths from malaria, okay? So, and then we're losing trillions of dollars, billions of dollars from malaria. I think it's something we should be able to discuss, and because now, if you cannot apply money appropriately, it's going to seriously affect donor,
confidence.
Yes, in you, because right now we're talking about vaccines for malaria, because now we have the insecticide-treated net, the chemoprophylaxis. Yeah. We have the malaria vaccines. We have residual spraying. That we have to spray the environment and control the vectors. Those are the 4 pillars we have to control malaria, and each of these pillars requires money. Okay, now we're still fighting on the aspect of who supplies the net, how the net was supplied, and that the fact that indigenous company was denied production of those nets. But how many areas, even in terms of molecules, drugs that we use for malaria, how many support have we given to even those who are manufacturing those drugs? Local manufacturers. Apart from that, in that value chain, how many of our people are we empowering to make that happen? Because at the end of the day, if the money comes, and then one of the tricky things about this donor money, there are conditions. There are conditions. The bank, those people giving you the money will say, these are the conditions. These are the people that can, bid. These are the quality of the net we want. Okay? I'm sure the ministry should be able to come and tell us exactly why those local people were not given, how the money has been applied, the effect.
If the ministry was able to do that, they would not be boycotting the National Assembly otherwise. Arrogance
everywhere. Because some people just feel that Takanin, what is his business? What does he know? We tend to toy with serious national issues. It may not be that, let me tell you, it may even be that the money has been misapplied. Trust. until you start going to the details of works at the level of ministry, you know some of this and how difficult it could be for you to access fund. Except somebody want to actually ride roughshod on the process and the flow of how that money should be. It could be quite challenging. There are conditions, incident. Let me tell you, for instance, I was privy to some of the works of NAFDAC, just yesterday, and I saw the details work they were doing on an aspect of a product. Details work. If you don't get close to them, you will not know the essence of what they do. Of course, in this ministry, some of those things are personal. They could be compromised. It has to be compromised for you to escape those things. It may not be that they have stolen the money in reality, but why are they not coming to explain?
That's the question.
And they should honestly tell Nigerians, because it's in the public space now. All of us are watching, and we want to know exactly what has happened to that $340-something million sourced from 3 banks to applied in 13 states to fight malaria burden. And don't forget, we're number 1 in deaths and cases of malaria.
And talking about insecticidal nets, some of these things are actually meant to be given for free. I don't know whether it's meant to be sold now, because I've seen some insecticidal nets being sold by people, and it is boldly written, not for sale. And some of them are also donations from the WHO, et cetera, et cetera. So is this not part of the things that we're talking about? Because by the time they give us some of these things, and we're asked to distribute this thing onwardly to people that need them in different households, and then we get to see it, being displayed on.
It's quite worrisome. You're right, because on the streets of Lagos, in the traffic, I saw people hawking insecticide-treated nets. These are supposed to actually be given out, especially to the pregnant women and children in rural area, free of charge, to use to fight the scourge of malaria. But how do we explain it? The logistic of taking this thing and getting to the last user, we have to actually tidy that aspect. If you are the inventory holder, you are the one in charge of the inventory, we must be able to know the flow of that thing until it gets to the last person. And in reality, quite a lot of people, there are a lot of reticence in terms of saying, okay, I want to use the ITN, the long-lasting treated nets. Because people feel that, I feel hot when I'm under it, There must be that kind of communication. And I keep repeating it over and over. We don't have money to run health. But we have money we don't even need money to talk and educate our people. That is the lowest hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned. Move at the level of local, move to the local community, move to the people, move to the influencer at the local community, and tell them why the nets are important, why it has to be used, and actually follow up. Even I can tell you, even in the so-called, center of excellence, Lagos, by the time you move away from the main city, the story may not be too different from what's happening in Bayelsa. Not be too different. So now we need that thing to be able to get something right. We cannot be number 1 in every bad thing. That's just case of malaria, HIV number 2, corruption number 1. That shouldn't be our narration. Okay? If you source money, apply the money so that you can get more money. If you are faithful with little, more will come. That is the issue. And why? I trust Professor Patton will go and discuss this. From now on, I'm sure the minister will put all this together and say, listen, this is how the money was applied. Perhaps they are trying to get the data. Perhaps they are trying to pick this person.
That should have been communicated.
Yeah, honestly, they should have come. You cannot just neglect people who has the authority oversight over your ministry. You can't neglect them for whatever reason. Even if there is the smallest child, even if there is most uneducated person, I'm not saying they are, but even at that, you have the mandate to tell people, this is the money, because Nigerians are going to pay the money back.
But going by what the representative said, they said that they've been running away and calling all manner of people to talk to them. So it means that, probably way of lobbying and saying you just have to, let this case die. And if you look at, I want to bring an instance where we have a colleague of ours who is now in government, I mean, a journalist who is now in government, spokesperson for the government, said that when he got into his office, he realized that he needed, TV and some other paraphernalia in order to function in that office, because the person who left the office took all of those things when he was removed. And then the budget was just 2 million naira, and he waited for like 2-3 weeks and he didn't see that. He went to the permanent secretary and they said that what is in the budget is 6 million naira. So